Okay, boys, in this short video, we're just going to be looking at the Acts of the Apostles, so understanding sort of the role that they had in developing the church to what we know it today. So before we do that, we can often get confused with the word apostles and disciples, so I'm just going to quickly explain the difference between the two. So we've often heard the disciples, okay, and we've also heard the apostles. So it's important that we understand the difference. So a disciple is basically sort of a follower. Okay, so they're sort of a follower of Jesus. Now we are disciples. So anyone that sort of is within the church can be considered an example as a disciple. They're a follower of Jesus. They believe in Jesus. They sort of go on with that way. Where apostles, on the other hand, are sort of hand selected or hand picked by Jesus, and they're people that go out and actually spread the good news. Okay, so they spread the good news. Now, it's important to understand that disciples can be apostles, but the sort of can't be the other way around. Okay, so the apostles that we're going to be talking about in this instance will be the 12 apostles. Now, to understand the importance that they played, we're going to just do a quick timeline here, just to understand the context of the time. So time as we know it starts here, which is what we call AD, okay, and it means after death. Okay, so after Jesus' death. So think about just a brief sort of history before that. So before Jesus died, he had these 12 disciples or 12 apostles, and they were sort of just following him. Okay, they were going along. They were amazed by the things he was doing. He was sharing them with the good news, and they were sort of amazed by this. But all of a sudden he was crucified and he died and he ascended into heaven, which is what we call the ascension. So ascension means ascending or ascended into heaven. And now they're sort of left. So their leader is gone. So now it's sort of the responsibility of the apostles to sort of continue that work. Okay. Now this is sort of occurring in a pretty difficult time. Now to understand this, you've got to think of what it was like in that time. It was basically illegal to, I guess, preach or even follow Christianity. So if they wanted to receive the Eucharist or anything like that, they had to sort of do it in secret. Because in fact, because it was illegal, there was a pretty bad dude. It was called, I think it was Nero. Okay, he was sort of a Roman leader or Roman during the Roman Empire there, he sort of was very strong in destroying Christianity. It was a growing religion that was sort of against everything that he believed, so he tried to squash it. And he did that by killing anyone that was sort of using or following Christianity. So the apostles, their job was to try and continue to develop the church, try and spread the news, but they had to do it under such difficult circumstances. And this is where the word martyr comes in. Okay, and I'll write this up here. Now, a martyr is sort of anyone that dies or even is killed for their beliefs, and usually that's in a religious context. Okay, so anyone that dies for their beliefs. So this is where we start to identify the strengths or the great character traits of the apostles. Now we always celebrate Jesus' death. Jesus died for us, he died for our sins, but the apostles sort of go unnoticed, but they were sort of just as significant in developing the church. Okay, they had to do it in very difficult circumstances where it was illegal, there were people getting killed for doing it, and they had to try and continue to go from there. So think about it in this regard. So we know that there was 12 apostles. I want you to sort of think, out of the 12 apostles, how many do you think actually survived, as in lived and died of old age? So out of the 12 apostles. The answer is that out of the 12, only one of them lived and died of old age. That means that the other 11 ended up being killed, crucified, murdered for being a follower of Jesus or for preaching and being an apostle. So they were living in such difficult circumstances, and it's important that we understand the role that they played in getting Christianity as it is today. So imagine if you going to church, we go to church the other day, imagine you having to do that in secret and you're killed for doing that, okay? It started off so small, but they were so significant in building up its importance and it grew over time because of the great acts of the apostles. Okay, so it's important that we understand that. We're going to move on from the apostles and also looking at other ways, so Christianity being persecution of the Christians, and then coming down to the time of Constantine. So it's important that we understand the context of that, and we'll go into a bit more detail about the apostles soon. Thanks, boys.